Hey there. Okay, we're starting another unit today, and Unit 5. We're getting towards the end of this course. You guys notice how it's sneaking up on us? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this unit and kind of launch it into some thought processes that you might be thinking of. And I wanted to share just an experience I had this week that really closely relates, and just kind of listen to my little tale here. Uh, I've been working with a number of teachers, and they've been talking just about the frustration they have with finding a way to engage students. And we know that students enjoy certain aspects of gaming and electronics. We would think that once we put them into an online context, that there might automatically be some engagement just because they get to use the computer. But what I'm talking to these teachers about is that actually some of that is becoming part of the problem. It's maybe not catchy enough for the students, or there's something that just doesn't click with them with the use of the computer. So as we're thinking about assessments this week, I really believe that, or these next 2 weeks rather, I really think that this whole idea, even though it's somewhat of a buzzword, this whole idea of authentic, inquiry-based, collaborative assessment practices. This whole authentic thing can be a little overdone, but it's a rich word, isn't it? And I really think that students are drawn to engage in authentic experiences. When I was working with Sarah at the very front end of this course, she's been the mastermind on this course, but at the very front end, we were talking about the learning objectives and what do online instructors really need to know. And we wanted to make it an authentic experience. And I hope you've seen that in the activities that they're not just busy work. They're really trying to get us to delve into the critical issues and also to help produce something that's really usable in your classroom, that authentic piece. How do we create that for students? I think there's different challenges for different levels. Do you kind of know in your mind what students you're working with, or can you suppose what type of student you're coming from? I work with you folks, and then I work with a different clientele in my community college, and many of them, like you, are balancing other responsibilities, but many of them do not have the academic experiences yet that we all have become comfortable with. And so as I approach them, there's the experiences I try to create and the rationale I give them for the assessments that I have in my classes. I try to walk a mile in their shoes. What is that student thinking about this project, and how can I make it relevant to many of my students are, for example, in like early like mechanical types of backgrounds and that kind of thing, or nursing. And what is comp have? I'm teaching them comp. What does that have to do with them getting a job as a mechanic or as a nurse? And trying to bring that all together to make that authentic. So here's my story. I have all junior high and elementary students. Well, middle school, our school system is set up as two elementaries that feed into one middle school. That's a 5th and 6th grade building, and then the junior high, and then the high school. And I have one in each of the 3 younger buildings right now. And my middle school student, I received an email, and there you have to know that this is a district that is very small overall and doesn't have a lot of the funding for technology that some schools have been able to grasp onto. And I get this email last night from my middle school student's teacher, 5th grader, and it said, hey, you're getting this email. If you're getting this email, your student's going to have an opportunity to retake a test tomorrow. Okay, we're talking about assessment here, right? Retake because he or she either scored below a certain score or scored above that score but wants to retake it to get better. And first of all, I came from and maybe some of you can relate, a background where once you took a test, it was done unless you really stunk it up, right? And then the teacher's trying to bail you out a little bit. But most of the time, it was a one and done thing for me, and I learned to really be apprehensive about tests. Here's the second piece that was so exciting to me. This teacher attached visual, like worksheets to review, a way that they're teaching story problems with highlighting in multiple colors, an explanation that's for me as a parent to understand and help my child through at home, and 3 videos that walk my child through the problems. Now, my fifth grader assured me, and he is really a math guy, he reassured me that he just didn't look at the directions right, and that's why his score wasn't as high as it should have been, and he begrudgingly filled out the worksheets last night. But look what that teacher provided for me and my student. I have a window into what's going on. You know how many parents will say, well, math's so different now. If we're talking about an authentic learning experience that really fits the deeper, is trying to build a deeper understanding of the concept and is being sensitive to the type of learner we're working with, this just was like, it clicked for me. I was really excited about it. So I wanted to share that story with you about how just a school that isn't even doing an online learning initiative yet, I say yet, how an individual teacher is seeing that value and sending that out in a simple gesture. And what can we learn from that even in the online classroom? What can we take from those mindsets that are definitely changing to help create a context for critical learning, deeper thinking, and authentic assessment to improve not only our students' competencies, but also their engagement, their willingness to come along with us in the ride. Because if they're not engaged, we can have the best class in the world, and they're not going to get anything out of it, right? So it's kind of an engagement game. So what are we doing this week? I hope that you find these assessments authentic. But what we're doing is kind of our usual routine. We are doing some reading, and the first thing you're going to do in Activity 5.1 is add to our discussion board in talking about this. The second piece, and we do have some video this time, and talking about Edutopia. That's one of my very favorite resources right now, by the way. Came across another really neat resource this week from Smart Thinking, I believe is the name of it, but it's called 125 Best Blogs for Blended Learning, and I can send you that in writing too, but that was definitely worth a look-see. I didn't want to add too much more to your plate for this course, but if you're interested in a little bit more reading, that could be a place you look. Okay, obviously the second assignment that we're going to look at, then we usually go the direction of a blog, and I think that I'm always torn between, I don't want to be so routine that we are boring you, but I do think there's a certain number of routines that are sort of nice to have. And this is about developing rubrics, and I personally struggle with rubrics. In fact, I dropped the ball in this class, and haven't had established any rubrics, because to me the way the assignments were set up were sort of a rubric, but obviously they don't have values placed next to each item, so they aren't technically. So again, I'm on this learning path with you. But developing rubrics that really work for us. I think the reason I struggle with them is I tend to need to almost grade a few and then go back and adjust my rubric over time, so that the rubric is really saying what I want it to say for best results from students. And I also dial back to my little video that I sent you last week about asking for an answer versus a right answer. And I think that we have to be careful with rubrics that we don't pigeonhole students, that it doesn't create a one right answer scenario, but it creates a description of many right answers. And then obviously then the following week, the second week, we're just going to blog feedback and discussion board feedback, and then the next part of our assessment portfolio that we're creating for our final project. And it's kind of fun. I like how this portfolio kind of echoes the idea of some of the assessment practices that we're going to be reading about this week in terms of authentic, something you can take with you and do. And you are doing a little presentation this week that you'll be using to show why you chose what you did for this particular activity. So good luck with all of it. Keep your questions coming, and thank you for just embarking on this learning journey with me. You have a great week.